My MP topic was on the co-location of solar and agriculture. It's basically a guide for the solar industry moving forward to serve as how to put pollinator habitat on solar farms across the U.S. Across the United States, certain states such as New York, Minnesota, and Vermont, they're developing state legislation to help promote pollinator health, but there's still not a solid toolkit and set of recommendations for how the solar industry could put in pollinator habitat based on X region or X development. Pollinator habitat varies greatly across the United States. It depends on what we call an ecoregion. For example, if we have a solar farm here in North Carolina, we have an array area, so where all the panels are, and then we have a buffer area around more like the perimeter of the solar farm. So the pollinator habitat, the idea is to make sure that you have the appropriate seed mixes, both under the array and around the buffer area, with certain height restrictions, and then also, are the species within that pollinator seed mix native to the area? Are they drought resistant? A lot of different factors. It was a very weird, serendipitous kind of meeting in downtown Durham. I was working with the local Beekeepers Association. Someone mentioned that they had a friend who was interested in pollinator health. Well, it turns out that friend, who is also a Duke alum, was my client. Cypress Creek Renewables, I became their pollinator project coordinator. And ever since then, we were working on a pilot study to get this going and up and running. So initially when I started with Cypress Creek this time last year, my first couple of tasks were to decide, one, what risks exist for the solar industry, and particularly Cypress Creek, and two, how much is this going to cost? What is the upfront cost versus the long-term savings for the solar industry? If we have a 100-acre solar farm and we go into a community that's pretty agrarian or rural, they don't really like the idea necessarily of maybe taking up all of this farmland. So in essence, what we can say is, okay, if you allow us to put in this utility scale solar farm, you'll have clean energy in your local economy, but then also we're going to try to give back to the land and the economy in other ways from an agricultural perspective. Currently, there's still a pretty huge lack of data on pollinator health in the United States, actually directly quantifying the benefits of pollinators. So we're still needing info there, but then how do we relay that to the solar industry is very much so lacking. The final deliverable of this project is a best practices sustainability guide where I have 9 or 10 recommendations. So the first one, habitat assessment forms. I haven't mentioned this yet. This is the primary metric or tool that the solar industry can use to score a site. So it's out of 100 points. And in order to be exceptional or even just okay habitat, you need a score of 70 out of 100. And the last thing I would like to highlight is public education and outreach. There is a great need to making sure that we're all communicating the same message and are aware. It may sound silly, but what is a pollinator and what does it take to put pollinator habitat on a solar farm? What risks are we looking at and what community fears are we also working with? Ultimately, it gives a background of what we've done and where we are today. A whole list of terminology within not only the solar industry but pollinators as well, kind of to give everyone an even playing field. And then it has a list of maybe 8 or 9 different case studies, which is by state or market. What pollinators may look like in New York is very different from our issues in North Carolina. And then relating that over to what legislation's in place to either support or not support solar and agriculture initiatives. And then the final piece of this is a set of 9 or 10 recommendations that what I think the future needs for what it's worth, right? And so after being pretty invested in this for the past year, kind of seeing the progress and working with those that really started the initiative, how are we going to make this happen and make it more credible in a way that will not only help communities on the ground, but also maintain credibility for the solar industry, because we aren't all ecologists and entomologists and things like that. So we want to make sure that we're doing it properly for the years to come.